Chris is one of my favorite guests to have. We've had him multiple times on Radio Row. Chris Myers from Fox Sports.
It's always good to see you.
Yes, great to see you.
You're
Paul
a staple
Kevin.
here. Why are they? So they're changing it now to like Media Row. Is that what they want to call it?
Media Row.
Is that because all the TV and streaming? And,
yeah, I mean we're a podcast now. Like we've gone to the. I don't know if it's the dark side or not, but it's where you had to go.
That's right.
We're chasing it. So
everybody has a podcast. That's great.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, you can start one tomorrow if you want to. So you're here with the Mueller Sports Medicine.
Yeah, Mueller Sports Medicine. They've had this out for a while that athletes have used. Now it's available for the general public, and essentially you can get it at Walmart.com or Mueller, Mueller, MuellerRevive.com, and essentially it's like a built-in. You slip on these leg boots, and you connect them to a machine that you can control the compression, and it goes in and out. So it's almost like a massaging therapy. So it does two things. It helps your circulation. It helps you recover from any kind of pain if you were out walking, hiking, playing basketball, pickleball, whatever. And it's for the weekend warrior, if you're a jogger, cyclist, whatever, so that you can do it again the next day. And so it re-energizes you as well with great circulation and blood flow.
Yeah, last year Ron Jaworski put them on me.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
And they had me try it because I do play some half-court basketball and pickleball, and I usually have to take a break. Even golf sometimes with my back. It actually helped my back, even though these things are for your legs. So I tried it a couple of nights a week at 20 minutes, and it really did work. So it's only about, I think, $700 if you get it. But they have them at some of the high-end gyms, but now you can have this as your home unit. My wife uses it because she's very athletic as well, so the whole family can try it. So, I would say check it out.
Yeah. So, Chris, you, an Emmy Award-winning sports broadcaster, you've been in this game for a long time. You have covered just about everything. Is there something you haven't covered that you would like to?
Well, I don't know if how good I would be at covering it, but I've covered it, but not really called it or in the big moment, the NHL or soccer or the World Cup. I've covered those sports on the peripheral, but not like I've been on the NFL or in the World Series, the network broadcast in the thick of it. So that might be out there as a challenge. But I enjoy the things that I grew up, football, baseball, NASCAR. It took me a while to get into NASCAR. My brothers were big car guys, but I enjoy those things. And to me, football was the first love growing up in Florida, and the NFL. I mean, college football also, but that's kind of the path that I took, which is something I do mention in my book I have out called That Deserves a Wow, a little bit about years at ESPN and Fox and covering all the sports that you talked about and allowing me to meet and it is a lot of interesting people through the years that I was able to interview.
You've kind of done all the different jobs, like from Sports Center anchor to reporter, sideline. Right. I think I told you this one time when we talked. I like listening to your play-by-play because you have informed, as a sideline reporter, you know what that job is, maybe even more than a lot of play-by-play guys do because they've never done it.
Yeah.
They've never had to do it. So the interaction you have down at the sideline, to me, is always better than most because you've been that guy who has to give something really fast that's really important that can't sound like it's something everybody else would know. And so I appreciate that from all angles when I watch one of your broadcasts.
Yeah, no, and thank you for saying that because I think, and I was late doing play-by-play because I was hosting other shows, interview shows, Sports Center highlight shows, or reporting, as you said, and other things. But I think having been down on the field, and you really do, we try to work with the crew and show as much as we can, but you really see and feel the crunch of the pads. We heard on TV, we try to show it to you, but the way the guys come over the sideline in such pain and then go right back out there, I mean, you really get a sense of how their interaction is with coaches. Some of it, obscenities we can't say or show. So that helps. So when I went to the booth, I obviously had a respect for the position down there of the sideline reporter, but also had a feel for the flow of the game and what's going on. I sometimes watch, maybe whether it's good or not, I'm watching the game. I have the monitor and I'm watching the live game on the field where the ball is, but I'm often checking out the sideline during the break. Who is somebody yelling at somebody? Is somebody pouting? Who's going to the locker room? And we have people to help us with that as well. But it's an important point to, I think, calling the game right.
I'll just tell you, from my personal experience doing sideline, I remember I did a Baylor Texas game. I did an A&M, one of their chump opponent games, and getting injury information you would think it would not be that big of
College
a deal.
College is so tough.
In the NFL, they're like they got.
They'll work with you a little bit, or they'll at least say, "Hey,
in college." You would think I'm asking for their social security number.
Yeah.
Like it is, you go like, hey, and like, you don't have to tell me what's wrong. I just want to know, are we going to see this guy again? Like he's out with an injury. That's fine enough because I'm the third wheel on this broadcast. They're only coming down to me for this information specifically, other than a couple of things I've prepared for when we have time, if that happens. So, like, some of these things I've worked on may never see the light of day because the game could go in a certain way of, here's an interesting story I found out. I just need to know when I come over to you and say, hey, looks like a bad ankle injury. Is he coming back in or not?
But I think they owe it, the school, the team, whatever, to the audience, because you're trying to do your job. But also, when you're up in the booth, and I did an Oregon game, Justin Herbert, one of his last games, and all of a sudden at the sideline, he's not in the game in the second half. We're trying to find out why, and he's in a raincoat over on the side, and they wouldn't say whether he was hurt or he was just, sitting out the game, getting ready for the draft. And nobody would inform us of that, and I think it's tough to call a game. I think viewers, fans want to know, why isn't he in there? Is he just resting? Is he hurt? I mean, are they just rotating? So that's something, and the NFL is pretty good about that. I mean, some teams are better than others with giving you information, but I think that's because the league says, hey, the TV are partners with us and the broadcast, and we're serving the audience ultimately. Yeah, I think college sports can be a little bit better about that, at least from my brief experience calling college football.
Yeah, I'm totally for the day that they make them give injury reports across the board, as like professional sports do. There's a lot of money in this now, and so I would like to just see it. The other thing is, part of it is, and I covered Art Briles for long enough to where he wouldn't tell you tell you anything, and that was kind of a high school coach thing of look, if this coach isn't prepared for all possibilities, you saying that is not going to oh, hey, he's out. Okay, good. No. I think you need to have a little more respect for the other coach. By that secret's not really that valuable.
And sometimes it's obvious. And you can even say, hey, it looks like some shoulder pain. He's questionable. That's always the one, hey, might he return, might not. Yeah. At least that leaves the other team guessing if you're that sensitive. But at least the viewer has a sense of why he's out of the game. Or I've had some people say, hey, coach's decision. I'm like, okay, well, you don't have to tell us why the coach made it. Is he unhappy with him? Is it disciplinary? I was doing that Antonio Brown game with the Bucks and the Jets when Antonio Brown in New York took his shirt off. I thought it was a fan running on the field. So there, thankfully, we had a reporter who got on it, and he was unhappy about playing time. We were able to unfold that story as he ran off and ended his career. But it was a funny moment. Well, you think you're ready for things, but that I had never seen before. And
look, here's in that scenario, they're like, no, I got a story to tell you right now.
Yeah.
They're wanting to say that. This game this week is so very interesting to me because of the fact that of all the teams that could maybe get a lead on the Chiefs and hold it because they can run the ball, the Eagles might be that team. But nobody gets a big enough lead to put Patrick Mahomes out of the game because their defense is so elite. So, I guess everybody's going to start picking the Chiefs because if they're within striking distance with enough time and he needs a minute to score 2 touchdowns.
We've seen him do it.
Yeah,
and they win, 17 straight one-score games? It was a one-score game a couple of years ago. I think the Eagles are a better team than they were a couple of years ago. Mahomes hasn't lost anything, or has Andy Reid, but the Chiefs' defense is statistically just as good, even though the personnel is different. I think they only have 2 first-round draft picks that are starters on that team. But there's some things here. I think the Chiefs are a little susceptible to inside zone runs. It matches up in favor of the Eagles. Their personnel, obviously, on defense for Philadelphia that's played so well, I think they can take advantage of the tackles of Kansas City. But you're right. Mahomes, and look, even if the Chiefs slow down Saquon Barkley, I think Jalen Hurts is an outstanding runner. He can throw the ball, but there's risk-reward there. But he can have a 100-yard day, and Saquon can have 100. And there's your 200, and that's what they've been averaging or so through the playoffs. And then there's obviously the officiating, but it measures out that the Eagles have an advantage in almost every position except maybe quarterback and coach, which are the 2 most important. Where Andy Reid and Mahomes, if it's close, you got to think that they're going to pull it out.
You guys at Fox have an unbelievable talent stable right now for your NFL broadcast. It's you and Kevin and Joe Davis. Joe Davis and I actually did Baylor pregame together, right? At this very first gig I think he ever had, and he just shot up the charts.
No, he deserves. He's done well with baseball and on the football
side.
Took
over for Vin.
It's a great honor, and he's done well. And the analysts too, obviously not just Brady, but we have Greg Olson and you have Mark Sanchez and Mark Schlereth. I mean, people, announcers that people trust and that they know don't just show up and give an opinion. They're out there working, whether it's by Zoom or at practice, and they're fun. I will say our seminar is always a blast to hang. That's the one time we all get together. We do it in the off season and go over rules in the season ahead, and it's the pregame guys are there as well with Bradshaw and Howie Long and Jimmy Johnson and Julian Edelman, who's a great ad for us this year on the earlier show with Michael Vick's moving on to coaching. So we'll see who steps into that spot. But yeah, we're very fortunate. I mean, like I said, all those years at ESPN, I was around great people in those early years, the golden years, the growth years with Chris Berman and Bob Lee, and then at Fox, the growth there from beyond the NFL with NASCAR and baseball. But to have guys that have been there a while, that get along, that love what they do. It's a pleasure to work there. Yeah,
I'm going to ask you one question before I let you go about the Cowboys. You've called their games. You've seen them from that perspective. This just doesn't it's always it was always the thing was Jerry was the best owner and the worst GM. And I'm not sure that he's the best owner anymore. It just feels like they've kind of gotten too wrapped up in doing it their way. That now, there's things they refuse to do. Free agency, paying a coach, a competitive salary in that market. It doesn't feel the same as it did before.
I never think it's a good thing to get so caught up in the Patriot way, the Cowboy way. That's okay when you're winning, but you have to be able to adjust, adapt, and change when personnel changes or certain things in the league change. Sometimes the other teams in your division get better. For example, now I think Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in that division. I no offense to Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott or whatever the hell the Giants are doing. but I am thrown off, and I always like Jerry Jones because I covered the team back in the era when he first bought the team and had the success, and I am mystified because I've seen him do things like go for Bill Parcells, I thought he might try for Belichick just to kind of, as he always says, I'd sell my soul for one more Super Bowl title. Well, that's what it might take if he keeps. I don't know. It's not a knock on Brian Schottenheimer. He's a fine assistant coach. We don't know what kind of head coach he'll be. Obviously, he's got. If it was to appease Dak Prescott needs a little more than just CD Lamb. I mean, you have to think about what you're adding to this team, and the year before, not last year, the year before was their great chance, and they certainly missed out on that. I don't know what to expect from them, but I think maybe too we have to face the reality of it. I like Dak Prescott; he works hard. I just maybe he's just a good quarterback and not a great quarterback, and so if that's the case, accept that and work around him with the other parts that you need, like teams have done with the Jalen Hurts, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Myers, one of my favorite guests every single year. Chris, thank you so much. Mueller Sports, go to walmart.com, or you can just look them up, Mueller Sports, get the Revive. Again, I've experienced it. I think Smokey actually bought one last year. So, Smokey bought one, right, Josh? Yeah, so I can just steal his. I don't know.
But it does make a difference. We're all active, and they have them at gyms, but there you have to wait in line. You never know who's using. This is your own personal setup, but good luck with that. And thanks for having me on. Enjoy the game.
Chris Myers with us on 365 Sports.